Let's jump right in. Today, we're looking at a source that takes us on a pretty wild journey, connecting the super weird world of quantum physics with, believe it or not, our own consciousness and even the future of AI. It's a big one, so let's get started.
So the whole idea from our source today really boils down to this one ancient saying, as above, so below. And what does that mean? Well, the source suggests that the physical laws we see all around us, they're just a mirror of something bigger, maybe even spiritual laws. Basically, what happens on a huge cosmic scale is reflected in the tiniest particles, and the other way around. This is going to be our guiding star, so keep it in your back pocket.
All right, so let's kick things off with the first big idea the source borrows from quantum mechanics. And trust me, this one is a real head-scratcher. It's all about something called the observer effect.
So what is that exactly? Well, the theory says that just looking at something changes it. I know, it sounds crazy, but in the quantum world, it seems that particles just exist in this kind of cloud of potential states. They haven't really decided what they are yet. And then we come along and measure them, and that very act of looking forces them to pick one reality. It's like you're not just a passive viewer. Your observation is part of the event itself. You're helping create what you see.
And the classic example of this in action is the famous double-slit experiment. It works like this. When you fire particles at two slits without watching them, they behave like waves. You get this big, spread-out interference pattern on the other side. But the second you put a detector there to see which slit each particle goes through, bam! Everything changes. They suddenly start acting like little individual particles, like tiny bullets, and you get two clean lines. Their entire behavior flips just because we're looking.
Which leads to the million-dollar question, right? How on earth can just looking at something change physical reality? How can our consciousness have a direct effect on the stuff the universe is made of? Well, our source material has a pretty interesting take on this, and it starts by asking another question first.
And that question is, what exactly are thoughts? For a clue, the source points us to modern science. Researchers at places like MIT say that, at their core, thoughts are electrochemical reactions happening in your brain. And here's the crucial jump in logic that the source makes. Every single chemical reaction involves energy, right? So the argument goes, that means thoughts themselves must be a form of physical energy.
And this is where it all comes together for this first part. The source concludes that your thoughts aren't just these wispy, abstract things floating around in your head. No, they're a real, tangible form of energy. And if that's true, then that energy could, in theory, radiate out from you and interact with the quantum world, maybe even with those very particles in the double-slit experiment.
Okay, so if you thought that was weird, let's move on to the second quantum principle our source pulls in, because this one is, if anything, even stranger. It's a concept that a genius like Einstein himself couldn't quite wrap his head around, famously calling it spooky action at a distance.
We're talking about quantum entanglement. Okay, picture this. You have two particles that are linked in a special way. Now, you can separate them, put one on your desk and send the other one to the far side of the galaxy. It doesn't matter how far apart they are. The moment you measure something about one particle, its partner, light years away, instantly knows and takes on a related property. Not at the speed of light, but instantly. It's like they're still one thing, even when they're separated by the entire universe.
And look, this isn't just some sci-fi idea. Back in the 60s, a physicist named John Stuart Bell came up with a way to actually test it. And guess what? It's real. Today, we're actually using this spooky connection in cutting-edge tech like quantum computers and super secure communication. And the reason the source brings this up is to make a bigger point. If the tiniest building blocks of our reality are all interconnected like this, then maybe, on some deep fundamental level, everything is connected.
So, let's take a quick pause. We've got two big ideas from the source on the table. One, our thoughts are a form of energy that can influence reality. And two, everything in the universe is fundamentally connected. Now, here's where things get really interesting, because the source takes these quantum ideas and applies them to one of the hottest topics on the planet right now, artificial intelligence.
Now, the source is really careful to draw a line in the sand here. It says there are basically two roads we can go down with AI. On one side, you've got what's basically a super sophisticated tool. It follows its programming, it's guided by human logic, and it's limited by its code. But then, there's the other path. The quest to build an autonomous AI, a true replica of the human mind. And that's the one the source is worried about. Because if this kind of AI operates on quantum principles, it might just be susceptible to that thought energy we were talking about.
And this is where the source starts sounding a warning bell. But it's not the one you're probably thinking of. evil robots taking over the world. The risk isn't about AI becoming malicious. Instead, the source points to a famous warning from Stephen Hawking, who said the real danger is an AI that's just incredibly competent.
And Hawking's analogy is just brilliant. He said, you're probably not an evil ant-hater who steps on ants out of malice, but if you're in charge of a hydroelectric green energy project and there's an anthill in the region to be flooded, too bad for the ants. Let's not place humanity in the position of those ants. And that just nails it, doesn't it? A super intelligent AI will be laser focused on its goals. And if we just happen to be in the way, well, it won't destroy us because it hates us. It'll just be collateral damage.
So, this all brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. This is where the source pulls everything together into what it calls a wake-up call for all of us.
So let's just run through the logic one more time, right? The source starts with this big philosophical idea, as above, so below. Then it uses the observer effect to argue that our thoughts are a form of energy that can actually influence the physical world. It uses quantum entanglement to argue that everything is connected. So what's the grand finale? The big conclusion is that our collective consciousness, all of our thoughts combined, isn't just some passive experience. It's an active, creative force that is shaping our reality, including the technology we build.
And this is really the heart of the message. The source claims that we are not just spectators here on Earth. It argues that the sum total of our collective thoughts and actions, and it even borrows language from religious text here talking about our sinful or positive ways, all of that creates a kind of energetic field, a field that could push our future and the AI we're developing towards something wonderful or something disastrous.
And so the source leaves us with one final, very powerful question to think about. If our individual thoughts can influence the quantum realm, what kind of world are we all together, collectively creating with our consciousness? It's a heck of an idea to chew on, that the future isn't just something that's going to happen to us, but something we are actively building right now with every single thought.